Emily Carter's hand trembled as she gripped the medication cart. Across the dimmed recovery room, Daniel Park's heart monitor beeped steadily, too steadily for a man whose vitals were crashing 12 hours ago. She'd seen the syringe. She'd watched the substitution. And now she had 90 seconds before his fiancée returned. One whispered warning could end her career. Silence could end his life. Her nursing license was 3 months old. Her student loans were suffocating. Her future hung on not making waves, not asking questions, not getting involved in the private disasters of wealthy patients. She stepped toward his bed anyway. But before we begin, if you're enjoying this story, drop a comment with your city below. I want to see how far this tale travels. Hit that like button and stick around until the end. Trust me, you won't see what's coming. The fluorescent lights in Meridian Private Recovery buzzed with the kind of persistence that made 12-hour shifts feel like time punishment. Emily had been a registered nurse for exactly 14 weeks, and she'd already learned the most important rule. Rich people's problems weren't her problems. Keep your head down. Document everything. Don't get attached. She was failing spectacularly at that last part. Room 307 needs vitals in 10, barked charge nurse Patricia Chen, not looking up from her tablet. Patricia had the emotional range of a parking meter and the warmth of freezer-burned ice cream. And Carter, stop lingering. In and out. We're not a hotel. Yes, ma'am. Emily grabbed the blood pressure cuff and headed down the hall, her sneakers squeaking against polished floors that probably cost more per square foot than her entire apartment. Meridian wasn't a hospital. It was where the disgustingly wealthy came to recover from procedures they wanted kept quiet. Cosmetic surgeries, executive burnout, discreet detoxes, mysterious collapses that their publicists would later call exhaustion. The top 3 floors offered amenities that most people couldn't afford in a year. Private chefs, concierge doctors, rooms that looked like 5-star hotel suites. Emily's paycheck was decent. Not decent enough to erase her $60,000 in student debt, but enough to make the brutal shifts worth it, mostly. Room 307's door was cracked open. She knocked anyway. Mr. Park, vitals check. Come in. His voice was rough, tired. Not surprising for day 9 post-surgery. Daniel Park was 34, tech entrepreneur, recovering from what the chart diplomatically called acute gastric distress requiring surgical intervention. Translation, his appendix had nearly killed him. He'd been stable for a week. Textbook recovery. Until 3 days ago. Emily pushed through the door and stopped. Daniel was sitting up in bed, his laptop open, conference call on mute. He looked like hell. The kind of hell that didn't match his numbers from 6 hours ago. You look worse, she said, then immediately regretted it. Professional filter, Emily. Use it. He smiled faintly. Your bedside manner needs work. Sorry, I meant... She set down her equipment. How are you feeling? Honestly. Like I got hit by a truck, again. He closed the laptop. Nausea's back. Dizziness. The headaches are worse. Emily frowned, pulling up his chart on the room's tablet. Blood pressure yesterday, 118/76. Temp, 98.4. Post-surgical labs, normal. Everything was trending exactly as it should. I'll let Dr. Okonkwo know, she said, wrapping the cuff around his arm. Could be a medication side effect. Yeah, maybe. He didn't sound convinced. The cuff inflated. Emily watched the numbers climb, then fall. 142/94. She blinked. Checked again. Still high. That's odd, she muttered. What is? Your blood pressure. It's up. Not dangerous, but higher than it should be. She made a note. Any chest pain? Shortness of breath? No, just tired. Really tired. Emily took his temperature. 99.1. Elevated. Not a fever, but warmer than yesterday. I'm going to grab Dr. Okonkwo, she said. He was already here this morning. Said everything looked fine. Well, it doesn't now. She left before he could argue, heading straight for the nurse's station. Patricia was still there, still glued to her tablet, still radiating her signature do not disturb energy. Park's vitals are off, Emily said. Patricia didn't look up. Define off. BP's elevated, low-grade temp. He says he feels worse than yesterday. Did you check his meds? Not yet. I came straight here. Then check his meds, Carter. Chart it. If it persists, page Okonkwo. Patricia finally glanced up. And stop hovering. You've got 4 other patients. Emily bit back a reply and returned to 307. Daniel was back on his laptop, frowning at the screen. Everything okay? She asked. Work. He rubbed his eyes. Acquisition deal. Bad timing to be stuck here. You just had surgery. The deal can wait. Tell that to the board. Emily pulled up his medication schedule. Standard post-op protocol. Antibiotics, pain management, anti-nausea, a low-dose blood thinner. Nothing that should cause what he was describing. When's the last time you ate? She asked. Lunch. Some kind of fancy chicken thing tasted like cardboard wrapped in regret. She smiled despite herself. That's the private chef's specialty. I want real food, a burger, fries, something that doesn't pretend to be healthy. Take that up with dietary. I just keep you alive? He laughed, then winced. Don't make me laugh. Stitches. Sorry. She finished checking his IV line, making sure everything was secure. I'll keep an eye on you. If you feel worse, hit the call button. Don't wait. You worried about me, Nurse Carter? It's literally my job. But yeah, she was. Good. 2 days later, Daniel Park coded at 2:47 a.m. Emily wasn't even assigned to his wing that night, but she heard the alarm and ran anyway, instinct overriding protocol. By the time she reached 307, the crash team was already there. Dr. Okonkwo barking orders, 2 nurses doing compressions, someone else managing the airway. Emily froze in the doorway, heart hammering. Clear! Okonkwo shouted. Daniel's body jerked. The monitor shrieked. Then rhythm, sinus tachycardia, but rhythm. We got him, someone said. Emily exhaled. Okonkwo turned, saw her. Carter, what are you doing here? I heard the code. You're not on this floor tonight. Go. She went. But she didn't go far. She waited in the hallway until the team cleared out, until Daniel was stable, until Okonkwo emerged looking like he'd aged 5 years in 20 minutes. What happened? Emily asked. Ventricular arrhythmia. Came out of nowhere. He stripped off his gloves. We're moving him to ICU. Full workup. Something's wrong, and I don't know what. What? They found nothing. Cardiac panels? Normal. Electrolytes? Normal. Tox screen? Negative. Imaging? Clear. Daniel Park, by every measurable standard, should not have coded, but he had. And he was getting worse. Emily wasn't supposed to be in ICU. Her clearance didn't extend past the 3rd floor, but she had friends who owed her favors, and one of them, Jake, a nursing assistant with a nicotine addiction and a soft spot for rule breaking, let her slip in during a shift change. Daniel was awake. Barely. You're persistent, he said when he saw her. You're stubborn, she replied. How do you feel? Like death, but slower. That's not funny. Wasn't trying to be. Emily glanced at the monitors. Heart rate 110, BP 138/90. Oxygen sat 94%. Not terrible, but not good. Did they figure out what happened? Daniel asked. Not yet. They're running more tests. Tests. He closed his eyes. I'm so tired of tests. Emily pulled a chair close. She shouldn't be here. She definitely shouldn't be sitting, but something about this whole situation felt wrong, and she couldn't shake it. Who's been visiting you? She asked. Daniel opened one eye. Why? Just curious. My fiancée, Sophia. She's here every day. He paused. Why do you ask? Emily hesitated. No reason, just making conversation. But that wasn't true, because 3 hours earlier, while reviewing the security logs Jake had accidentally left open on his computer, Emily had seen something that stuck in her brain like a splinter. Sophia Lynn had visited Daniel's room at 11:42 p.m. the night he coded. 43 minutes before his heart stopped. Well, Emily told herself she was being paranoid. Rich people visited their sick partners at weird hours. It didn't mean anything. Sophia was probably worried. Probably couldn't sleep. Probably wanted to check on him. Except Emily had also noticed that Daniel's decline had started exactly 1 week ago. And Sophia had started visiting more frequently exactly 1 week ago. And every time Sophia left, Daniel seemed a little worse. Correlation wasn't causation. Emily knew that. She wasn't an idiot, but she also wasn't blind. On her next shift, Emily did something she absolutely should not have done. She accessed Daniel's medication administration records for the past 10 days. Hospital policy was crystal clear. Accessing patient records you weren't directly assigned to was grounds for termination. She did it anyway. The logs were clean. Every medication signed off by the appropriate nurse, every dose documented, nothing missing, nothing added. So why did Daniel's symptoms look like poisoning? Emily had done a clinical rotation in toxicology during school. She'd seen arsenic poisoning, lead exposure, even a case of intentional digitalis overdose. Daniel's symptoms, nausea, fatigue, cardiac arrhythmia, elevated blood pressure, matched. But the tox screen was negative, unless someone was using something the standard panel didn't check for. Emily leaned back in her chair, staring at the screen. This was insane. She was inventing conspiracies because she was tired and paranoid, and probably watching too many true crime documentaries. And yet, she pulled up Sophia Lynn's visitor logs again. 11 visits in 10 days, always in the evening, always alone, always staying between 20 and 40 minutes. Emily opened a new tab and did something even stupider. She Googled Sophia Lynn. The results were immediate. Sophia wasn't just Daniel's fiancée. She was a former runway model, current lifestyle influencer, with 1.2 million Instagram followers and a feed full of perfect photos, perfect outfits, perfect life. Emily scrolled through the images. Sophia at charity galas, Sophia at Fashion Week, Sophia and Daniel at some tech conference, both of them looking like they'd stepped out of a magazine ad for attractive people with money. And then buried 6 weeks back. Sophia at a hospital fundraiser, standing next to a man Emily didn't recognize. The caption read, "Always grateful for my brother's recovery. #family. First hashtag, never give up." Emily clicked on the tagged profile. Marcus Lynn. Private account. No photos visible. She switched back to Sophia's feed and kept scrolling. More fundraisers. More galas. More perfect moments. And then, 3 months ago, a photo of Sophia and Daniel on a yacht, champagne glasses raised, her hand extended to show off an engagement ring the size of a small country. He said, yes, #engaged, #forever starts now. 200,000 likes, 4,000 comments, all of them congratulating her, celebrating them, gushing about how perfect they were. Emily closed the laptop. She was losing it, absolutely losing it. There was no conspiracy, no poisoning, just a sick patient and an overworked nurse with an overactive imagination. She went back to work. What? But the next night, Emily saw it. She wasn't supposed to be on ICU, but Jake had texted her, covering for Simmons, "Need an extra hand, you in?" And Emily had said yes because rent was due and overtime was overtime. It was 9:17 p.m. Emily was restocking a supply cart when she saw Sophia Lynn enter Daniel's room. Nothing unusual about that. Visiting hours technically ended at 9, but ICU bent the rules for family. Emily kept working, not really paying attention, until she saw Sophia pull something from her purse. It was small, cylindrical, a syringe. Emily's blood went cold. Sophia glanced toward the door. Emily ducked behind the cart, and then moved to Daniel's IV line. Emily's brain screamed at her to move, to stop her, to do something, but her body wouldn't cooperate. Fear had her nailed to the floor. Sophia attached the syringe to the IV port, pushed the plunger, withdrew it, slipped it back into her purse. 10 seconds, maybe less. Then she sat down beside Daniel's bed, pulled out her phone, and started scrolling like nothing had happened. Emily's hands were shaking. Her heart was trying to break through her ribs. She backed away slowly, quietly, until she reached the hallway. Then she ran. She should have gone to Patricia, or Okonkwo, or hospital security. Instead, Emily locked herself in the supply closet and tried not to hyperventilate. What the hell did she just see? Sophia had injected something into Daniel's IV, something she'd brought from outside, something that wasn't prescribed. Emily's mind raced through possibilities. Maybe it was vitamins. Maybe Daniel had asked her to bring supplements. Maybe it was completely innocent. Except nothing about the way Sophia had moved, quick, furtive, checking the door, suggested innocent. Emily pulled out her phone and opened the Notepad app. She typed 9:17 p.m. Sophia Lynn entered room YCU4. Injected unknown substance into IV line. Left at 9:23 p.m. Her thumb hovered over the delete button. If she reported this and she was wrong, her career was over. If she reported this and she was right, her career was probably still over. But if she said nothing and Daniel died? The closet door opened. Emily jumped. Jake stood there, looking confused. You good? You've been in here for 10 minutes. Yeah, sorry, just needed a second. You look like you saw a ghost. Close enough. Emily didn't sleep that night. She went home at 7 a.m., showered, stared at her ceiling, and played the scene over and over in her head. By noon, she'd made a decision. She called the hospital, asked for Dr. Okonkwo, got his voicemail. Hi, Dr. Okonkwo, this is Emily Carter. I need to talk to you about Daniel Park. It's urgent. Please call me back. She hung up. Waited. Nothing. She tried again at 2 p.m. Still voicemail. At 4 p.m., her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Emily Carter? A woman's voice. Professional, clipped. Yes? This is Administrator Judith Kramer from Meridian Private Recovery. Dr. Okonkwo forwarded your message. I'd like to discuss your concerns about Mr. Park. Can you come in tomorrow at 9? Emily's stomach dropped. Yes? Of course. Excellent. See you then. The line went dead. Emily stared at her phone. This was either going to save Daniel's life or destroy hers, possibly both. Judith Kramer's office was on the 8th floor, far away from patients and nurses and anything resembling actual medical care. Emily sat in a leather chair that probably cost more than her car and tried not to sweat through her scrubs. Kramer was 50-something, silver hair pulled into a bun so tight it looked painful, wearing a suit that screamed, "I earn more in a week than you do in a year." Ms. Carter, Kramer said, folding her hands on the desk. You left a message for Dr. Okonkwo expressing concerns about Daniel Park. Yes. What concerns specifically? Emily swallowed. I think someone is poisoning him. Silence. Kramer's expression didn't change. That's quite an accusation. I saw his fiancée inject something into his IV last night, something she brought from outside. Did you report this in real time? No, I wasn't sure what I saw. But now you are? I think so. Yes. Kramer leaned back. Ms. Carter, do you understand the gravity of what you're suggesting? You're accusing a patient's family member of attempted murder. I know. And you have evidence? Emily hesitated. I saw it happen. Did anyone else see it? No. Do you have video, photos, any documentation? No. Kramer sighed. Ms. Carter, I appreciate your vigilance, but without evidence, this is hearsay. And frankly, it's dangerous. If you make these claims publicly and you're wrong, you could face legal action, defamation, professional consequences. And if I'm right and I say nothing? Then you document your concerns in Mr. Park's chart and trust that his medical team will investigate appropriately. Emily's jaw tightened. His medical team hasn't found anything. He's getting worse, which is why we're running additional tests. What if there's no time for more tests? Kramer's gaze hardened. Ms. Carter, I'm going to be direct with you. You're a new nurse. You're still learning. But part of that learning is understanding boundaries. You are not Mr. Park's doctor. You are not his family. You are a care provider. Do your job, document appropriately, and let the medical team handle the rest. Emily stood. So you're telling me to do nothing? I'm telling you to be smart. Emily left without another word. That night, Emily did the dumbest thing she'd ever done. She went to Daniel's room. Not as his nurse, she wasn't assigned to ICU that night, just as a person who couldn't live with herself if she stayed silent. It was almost midnight. The ICU was quiet. Most patients were asleep. The night shift nurse was at the station, distracted by paperwork. Emily slipped into room 1CU4. Daniel was awake. Nurse Carter, he said, surprised. You're not supposed to be here. I know. Then why are you? Emily closed the door, locked it, turned to face him. Because someone is poisoning you, and I think it's Sophia. Daniel didn't laugh, didn't tell her she was crazy. He just stared at her for a long moment, his face unreadable. Sit down, he said finally. Emily didn't move. Did you hear what I just said? I heard you. Sit down. She sat. Her legs were shaking anyway. Daniel reached for the controls and raised his bed slightly, wincing as he moved. How long have you suspected? A few days, maybe longer. I wasn't sure until last night. What happened last night? Oh, her, Sophia. She injected something into your IV line, something she brought from outside. Daniel's jaw tightened. What time? 9:17. She was here for maybe 6 minutes. Came in, did it, sat down like nothing happened. Did anyone else see? No. Did you report it? I tried. The administrator told me to document it and move on. Said without evidence, it's just hearsay. Daniel was quiet. Too quiet. Emily couldn't read his expression, and it was starting to freak her out. You don't seem surprised, she said. I'm not. Emily blinked. What? I've suspected for about a week. I just couldn't prove it. He looked at her, and I didn't know who to trust. You think Sophia's been poisoning you for a week? Longer, maybe 3 weeks. It started subtle, nausea, headaches. I thought it was post-surgery recovery, but then it got worse, and the timing lined up with her visits. Emily's mind was racing. Why didn't you say something? To who? The doctors? They'd think I was paranoid. Hospital security? Same problem. And if I confronted Sophia without proof, she'd just deny it. He paused. Or worse, she'd finish the job before anyone believed me. Emily felt sick. Why would she do this? You're engaged. You're getting married. Money. Daniel's voice was flat. I'm worth about $400 million. We don't have a prenup. If I die before the wedding, she gets nothing. If we're married and I die, she gets half. But if I die and she's the grieving fiancé who stayed by my side through a tragic illness, she gets sympathy, public support, and probably access to my estate through some legal loophole her lawyers already figured out. That's insane. That's reality. Emily leaned back in the chair trying to process. Okay, so what do we do? We? Daniel raised an eyebrow. You've already done more than enough. You should walk away before this gets worse. I can't. Why not? Because if I do nothing and you die, I'll never forgive myself. She met his eyes, and because I'm not wired to ignore something like this. Apparently. Daniel studied her. You could lose your job, your license, everything you've worked for. I know. And you're still here. I'm still here. He smiled faintly. You're either very brave or very stupid. Probably both. Daniel exhaled slowly, considering. All right, if we're doing this, we need proof. Real proof. Video. Documentation. Something undeniable. How? My phone has a camera. We set it up to record the room. Hidden. When Sophia visits tomorrow, we catch her in the act. Emily's heart was pounding. And then what? Then we go to the police. Not the hospital, not my lawyers. The police. We show them the video, they investigate, and Sophia gets arrested. You make it sound simple. It won't be, but it's the only option that doesn't end with me dead. Emily nodded. Okay, when's her next visit? Daniel checked the clock on the wall. She usually comes around 8 or 9 at night, so tomorrow evening. I'm working tomorrow night. I can help set it up. You sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. Daniel looked at her for a long moment. Why are you helping me? You barely know me. Emily hesitated. The truth was complicated. Part of it was professional duty. Part of it was anger at being dismissed by Kramer. Part of it was something else entirely. A stubborn refusal to let someone get away with murder just because they were rich and pretty and knew how to smile for Instagram. Because it's the right thing to do, she said finally. That's not much of a reason. It's the only one I've got. Daniel smiled. Good enough. They spent the next 20 minutes planning. Daniel would position his phone on the windowsill, angled to capture the IV line and the door. Emily would make sure the night shift nurse was distracted when Sophia arrived. Once they had the video, they'd take it straight to the police. It felt fragile, like a plan made of paper and hope. But it was all they had. Emily stood to leave. One more thing, if this goes wrong, if she figures out what we're doing, she might accelerate. You understand that, right? I understand. And you're okay with that risk? Daniel met her gaze. I'm already dying. At least this way, I'm fighting back. Emily left before she could second-guess herself. The next 18 hours felt like waiting for a bomb to go off. Emily went through her shift on autopilot, checking vitals, administering meds, documenting everything with the kind of mechanical precision that came from years of training. But her brain was somewhere else entirely, running through every possible outcome, every way this could go sideways. She'd just accused a woman of attempted murder. If she was wrong, her career was over. If she was right and the plan failed, Daniel was dead. No pressure. At 7 p.m., Emily clocked in for her night shift. ICU was quieter than usual, only 6 patients, most of them stable. The charge nurse, a woman named Denise who had the energy of someone perpetually annoyed by everyone, barely glanced at Emily as she grabbed her assignment sheet. Carter, you've got rooms 2, 4, and 6. Jenkins called in sick, so we're short. Try not to screw anything up. Got it. Room 4 was Daniel's. Emily tried not to let her relief show. She waited until 7:45, then slipped into his room. Daniel was awake, sitting up in bed, his phone already positioned on the windowsill. The angle looked good, clear view of the IV line, the door, most of the room. We're set, he said quietly. Sophia still coming? She texted 20 minutes ago, said she'd be here around 8:30. Emily checked the hallway. Empty. I'll keep the nurses' station busy. Once she's in here, you're on your own. I know. And Daniel, be careful. Don't give her any reason to suspect. I won't. Emily left, her stomach churning. At 8:20, she positioned herself at the nurses' station, directly in Denise's line of sight. She pulled up a patient chart and started asking questions. Stupid questions, unnecessary questions, anything to keep Denise engaged and facing away from the hallway. At 8:33, Sophia Lynn walked past. She was wearing designer jeans and a cashmere sweater, her hair pulled into a casual ponytail that probably took 30 minutes to look effortless. She smiled at Denise as she passed. Evening, just checking on Daniel. Go ahead, Denise said without looking up. Sophia disappeared into room 4. Emily's hands were sweating. She kept talking, kept Denise distracted, kept her eyes on the clock. 8 minutes passed, then 10. At the 12-minute mark, Sophia emerged. She was typing something on her phone, looking relaxed. She gave Denise another smile and left. Emily waited until she was gone, then made an excuse to check on Daniel. He was pale, but composed. Got it, he said quietly. You're sure? Positive. She did exactly what you saw last night. Emily exhaled. Okay, I'll finish my shift. Meet me in the parking garage at 11. We'll go to the police together. Daniel nodded. Emily returned to the nurse's station, her heart hammering so hard she thought Denise might hear it. The next 2.5 hours were the longest of her life. She went through the motions, vitals, meds, charting, but her brain was screaming at her to just leave, to grab Daniel and run straight to the nearest police station. But she couldn't, not without raising suspicion, not without making Denise ask questions. At 10:58, Emily clocked out. She grabbed her bag, took the elevator down to the parking garage, and found Daniel waiting by a black sedan. He looked terrible, pale, shaky, leaning against the car like it was the only thing keeping him upright. You okay? Emily asked. Tired, dizzy, but functional. You need to sit down. I'll sit in the car. Let's just go. Emily helped him into the passenger seat, then slid behind the wheel. The engine started with a low purr. Expensive car. Of course it was. Nearest police station? She asked. 2 miles east. I already looked it up. Emily pulled out of the garage and onto the street. It was late, traffic sparse. The city lights blurred past neon and shadow. You have the video? She asked. Daniel held up his phone. Right here. And you're sure it shows everything? Clear as day. Emily gripped the steering wheel. Okay, we show them the video. They investigate. They arrest her. That's the plan. And then what? Daniel was quiet for a moment. Then I figure out how to live with the fact that the woman I was going to marry tried to kill me. Emily didn't have a response to that. They drove in silence. The police station was a squat concrete building with flickering fluorescent lights, and the kind of institutional grimness that made everything feel slightly hopeless. Emily parked, and they walked inside together. The front desk officer was a middle-aged woman with tired eyes and a nameplate that read, Sergeant Ramos. "Help you?" she asked. Daniel stepped forward. "I need to report an attempted murder." Ramos looked up. "Excuse me?" "My fiancée has been poisoning me. I have video evidence." Ramos stared at him, then at Emily, then back at Daniel. "Sir, are you currently intoxicated or under the influence of any substances?" "No, I'm a patient at Meridian Private Recovery. Someone's been replacing my medication with poison. I have proof." Ramos picked up a phone. "I'm going to need you to speak with a detective. Take a seat." They sat, waited. 15 minutes later, a detective appeared. Mid-40s, buzz cut, wearing a shirt that looked like it had been slept in. His badge read Detective Marcus Hall. "Mr. Park?" Hall said. "That's me." "Come with me." They followed Hall into a small interview room. Gray walls, metal table, chairs that looked designed to be uncomfortable. Hall sat down, pulled out a notepad. "All right. Start from the beginning." Daniel told the story. The surgery, the symptoms, the suspicions, the video. He spoke clearly, methodically, like he was presenting a business case. Emily sat beside him, adding details when necessary. When Daniel finished, Hall leaned back. "And you have this video?" Daniel pulled out his phone, queued up the footage, and handed it over. Hall watched. His expression didn't change. When the video ended, he set the phone down. "This shows a woman administering an injection into an IV line." "Yes. But it doesn't show what's in the syringe." Daniel frowned. "Does that matter? She's injecting something she brought from outside, without a prescription, without a doctor's orders. It matters if we're talking about criminal charges. For all we know, she's giving you vitamins." "Vitamins don't cause cardiac arrest." "Did you have a cardiac arrest?" "Yes. 2 days ago." Hall made a note. "And the doctors, what do they say?" "They don't know what caused it. All the tests came back normal. So no proof of poisoning." "Because they're not testing for the right substances." Hall sighed. "Mr. Park, I understand you're concerned, but without clear evidence of a crime, without toxicology reports showing poison, without witnesses, without anything beyond this video, there's not much we can do." Emily leaned forward. "I'm a witness. I saw her do it." Hall looked at her. "You're a nurse at the hospital?" "Yes." "And you reported this to your supervisors?" "I tried. They told me to document it and move on." "Why?" "Because without proof, it's hearsay." Hall spread his hands. "Same problem we have." Daniel's jaw tightened. "So what are you saying? That we just wait until she succeeds?" "I'm saying we need evidence, real evidence. Get your doctors to run a comprehensive tox screen. If they find poison, we'll investigate. Until then, my hands are tied." "She's going to kill me." "Then don't let her near you. Get a restraining order. Hire private security. But I can't arrest someone based on a video that shows medical administration without proof of wrongdoing." Daniel stood. "This is unbelievable." "I'm sorry, Mr. Park, I really am. But the law is the law." They left. Emily felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. Back in the car, Daniel slammed his hand against the dashboard. "Useless. Completely useless." "We'll figure something out," Emily said, though she had no idea what. "Figure what out? The police won't help. The hospital won't help. Sophia's going to keep poisoning me until I'm dead, and no one's going to do anything because we don't have the right kind of proof." Emily started the car. "Then we get the right kind of proof." "How?" "We catch her. We test whatever she's injecting. We prove it's poison." "And how exactly do we do that?" Emily's mind raced. "Next time she visits, we swap out your IV bag. Put in a dummy line. Let her inject whatever she's using. Then we take the contaminated bag to a private lab. Get it tested." Daniel stared at her. "You're serious?" "You have a better idea?" "No, but that's insane. If she realizes what we're doing, she won't. Not if we're careful. And if we're not careful, then we're screwed. But we're screwed anyway, so what's the difference? Daniel laughed bitterly. You really are either brave or stupid. I'm going with stupid at this point. They drove back to the hospital in tense silence. Emily dropped Daniel off at the entrance, watched him disappear inside, then sat in the parking garage with her head against the steering wheel. What the hell was she doing? She was risking everything, her job, her license, possibly her freedom, to help a man she barely knew. And for what? A sense of justice? A refusal to let someone get away with murder? Or was it something else? Something deeper. The sick, stubborn part of her that couldn't let things go, couldn't walk away when something felt wrong, even when walking away was the smart choice. Her phone buzzed, text from Jake. You good? Saw you leaving with Park. Everything okay? Emily stared at the message. She should tell Jake everything. Get someone else involved. Build a support network. But Jake had a big mouth and loose ethics. And if word got out that she was actively helping a patient circumvent hospital protocol, she'd be fired before sunrise. She typed back, Yeah, all good. Just gave him a ride. Long story. Cool. Coffee tomorrow? Maybe. I'll let you know. She put the phone away and went home. Sleep didn't come. Emily lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversation with Detective Hall over and over. The law is the law, which apparently meant rich people could commit murder as long as they were subtle about it. At 6 a.m., Emily gave up on sleep. She showered, drank coffee that tasted like burnt regret, and headed back to the hospital. Her shift didn't start until 3, but she needed to talk to Daniel, needed to finalize the plan before Sophia made her next move. She found him in his room, awake, looking slightly better than he had last night. You look like hell, he said when she walked in. Right back at you. He smiled faintly. Couldn't sleep? Not even close. Yeah, me neither. Emily pulled a chair close and lowered her voice. I've been thinking about the IV swap. We can do it tonight. Sophia usually visits around 8:30. I'll come in at 8, set up a clean bag, disconnect the real line, connect the dummy. When she injects whatever she's using, it goes into the dummy bag. We seal it, send it to a lab, get results in 48 hours. What lab? There's a private toxicology lab in the city. I worked with them during school. They're fast, discreet, and they don't ask questions if you pay up front. How much? Probably $2,000, maybe more depending on what we're testing for. I'll cover it. You sure? Emily, I'm worth $400 million. $2,000 is not a concern. Right. Rich people problems. Okay, Emily said. Tonight, 8 p.m. I'll bring the supplies. What do I do? Nothing. Just act normal. When Sophia comes in, pretend you're asleep. Don't react when she injects the line. We need her to think everything's routine. Daniel nodded. And after? After, we wait for the lab results. If they show poison, we go back to the police with actual evidence. Hall can't ignore that. And if they don't show poison? Emily hesitated. Then we're back to square one. Or I'm dead. You're not going to die. You don't know that. No, but I'm not letting it happen. Daniel looked at her, something unreadable in his eyes. Why are you doing this? It was the second time he'd asked. Emily still didn't have a good answer. Because no one else will, she said finally. It wasn't the whole truth, but it was enough. That night, Emily came prepared. She'd borrowed a spare IV bag from the supply closet, technically stolen, but she'd stopped caring about technicalities and brought it to Daniel's room at exactly 8 p.m. The room was empty except for Daniel. He was sitting up in bed, tense, alert. Ready? Emily asked. As I'll ever be. Emily worked quickly. She disconnected Daniel's primary IV line, capped it, and set up the dummy bag. The switch took less than 3 minutes. To anyone watching, it would look like a routine bag change. There, Emily said. You're still getting fluids through the secondary line. The dummy's just hanging there. When Sophia injects it, we'll catch everything. What if she notices? She won't. It's the same brand, same setup. She'd have to be looking for a difference. Daniel exhaled slowly. Okay. Remember, act natural. Pretend you're asleep if you can. Got it? Emily left, positioning herself at the nurse's station with a clear view of the hallway. At 8:34, Sophia arrived. She walked past Emily without a glance, disappeared into Daniel's room. Emily counted. 1 minute, 2, 3. At the 5-minute mark, Sophia emerged. Same routine, same calm expression. Emily waited until Sophia left the floor, then slipped back into Daniel's room. He was sitting up, pale. She did it. You're sure? Positive. Same syringe, same port. Emily moved to the IV stand and carefully disconnected the dummy bag. She sealed it in a biohazard container, double-bagged it, and tucked it into her backpack. I'll drop this at the lab tomorrow morning, she said. Results in 48 hours. And then? And then we finish this. Emily left before anyone could ask questions. The next 2 days were agony. Emily went through her shifts on autopilot, her brain stuck in a loop of worst-case scenarios. What if the lab found nothing? What if Sophia realized what they'd done? What if Daniel's condition deteriorated before they got answers? On the third day, her phone rang. Unknown number. Ms. Carter, this is Dr. Patel from Apex Toxicology. I have your results. Emily's heart stopped. And? The sample you provided tested positive for colchicine, high concentration. Colchicine? It's a medication used to treat gout. In therapeutic doses, it's relatively safe. In high doses, it's extremely toxic. Causes nausea, vomiting, cardiac arrhythmias, multi-organ failure. Symptoms can mimic a variety of conditions, which makes it difficult to detect without specific testing. Emily felt cold. How much was in the sample? Enough to be lethal over time. If someone were receiving regular doses, they'd deteriorate gradually. It would look like natural illness. Can you send me a written report? Already done. Check your email. Emily hung up, opened her email, downloaded the report. She had her proof. She called Daniel. We got her. Daniel answered on the first ring. Tell me. Colchicine, high concentration, enough to kill you over time. Silence on the other end. Then, I need to see the report. I'm sending it now. Emily forwarded the email, then waited, her phone pressed against her ear. She could hear Daniel breathing, the faint rustle of movement. Got it, he said finally. His voice was different, colder. I'm calling my lawyer, then we're going back to the police. I'll meet you there. No, you've done enough. I can handle this. Daniel, Emily. He cut her off, not unkindly. You've already risked too much. I'm not dragging you deeper into this mess. I'm already deep in it. And I'm pulling you out. Thank you for everything. But I'll take it from here. The line went dead. Emily stared at her phone, frustration burning in her chest. She'd just handed him proof that his fiancée was trying to murder him, and he was shutting her out? She texted him anyway. Don't do anything stupid. No response. 20 minutes later, her phone buzzed. Text from Jake. Yo, you hear about the drama on ICU? Emily's stomach dropped. What drama? Park's lawyers showed up. Like 3 of them. Cops, too. Something about his fiancée. Wild. Emily closed her eyes. He'd done it. He'd actually gone straight to the police with the report. She should have felt relieved, vindicated. Instead, she felt sick, because she knew what came next. Investigations, interviews, questions about how Daniel obtained the evidence, questions about who helped him. Her name was going to come up, and when it did, her career was over. Emily went to the hospital anyway. She needed to see how this played out, needed to know if Daniel was safe. The ICU was chaos. 2 uniformed officers stood outside Daniel's room. A woman in a sharp suit, probably one of his lawyers, was arguing with Administrator Kramer in the hallway. Doctor. Okonkwo looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. Emily stayed back, trying to blend into the background. Detective Hall emerged from Daniel's room, looking irritated. He spotted Kramer and walked over. We're taking him into protective custody, Hall said. Hospital security's compromised. If Ms. Lynn has access, she could try again. Detective, this is highly irregular, Kramer said. We have protocols. Your protocols almost got him killed. We're moving him, now. Kramer's jaw tightened, but she didn't argue further. Emily watched as they wheeled Daniel out on a gurney. He looked exhausted but alert. His eyes scanned the hallway and landed on her. He mouthed 2 words. Thank you. Then he was gone. Emily stood there, numb, as the hallway slowly emptied. The lawyers left. The cops left. Kramer disappeared into her office, probably to draft a strongly worded memo about liability. Emily's phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Meet me at Riverside Park. South entrance, 1 hour. Come alone. S. Sophia." Emily's blood went cold. How the hell did Sophia get her number? She stared at the message, her hands shaking. This was a terrible idea. Meeting a woman who'd just been caught trying to murder her fiancé? Alone? In a park? She should delete the message, block the number, go straight to the police. Instead, she texted back. "Why?" The response came immediately. "Because you don't know the whole story. And if you care about Daniel, you'll hear me out." Emily's finger hovered over the delete button. Then she grabbed her bag and headed for the parking garage. Riverside Park was nearly empty at 4 p.m. on a Thursday. A few joggers, a woman walking a dog, no one paying attention to the two women sitting on a bench near the water. Sophia looked nothing like her Instagram photos. No makeup, hair in a messy bun, dark circles under her eyes. She wore jeans and an oversized hoodie, like she'd thrown on whatever was closest. She looked terrified. "You came," Sophia said when Emily sat down. "I'm probably an idiot for doing it." "You are, but I'm grateful." Emily turned to face her. "Why am I here?" Sophia stared at the water. "Because I need you to understand that I never wanted to hurt him. You've been poisoning him for 3 weeks. I know. You nearly killed him. I know. Then what the hell is there to understand?" Sophia's hands were shaking. She gripped the edge of the bench like it was the only thing keeping her upright. "My brother's going to die if I don't do this." Emily blinked. "What?" "Marcus. My little brother. He's 23. He got involved with some people, bad people, about a year ago. Gambling debts, a lot of them. They've been holding him for 2 months. They said if I don't kill Daniel, they'll kill Marcus." Emily stared at her. "You're lying. I wish I was. You expect me to believe that you're being blackmailed into committing murder?" "I don't expect you to believe anything. I'm just telling you the truth." Emily's brain was struggling to process. "If that's true, why didn't you go to the police?" "Because the people holding Marcus aren't amateurs. They're connected, powerful. If I go to the cops, Marcus dies. If I don't kill Daniel, Marcus dies. There's no good option." "So you chose to murder your fiancé?" Sophia flinched. "I chose to save my brother. By poisoning the man you're supposed to marry." "I don't love Daniel." Sophia's voice was flat. "I never did. The engagement was business, his idea. He wanted someone presentable for investor meetings. I wanted financial security. It worked for both of us." Emily felt sick. "Does he know that?" "Of course he knows. Daniel doesn't do romance. He does transactions." "And poisoning him was just another transaction?" "It was survival." Sophia finally looked at her. "You don't understand what it's like. To have someone tell you that your brother, the only family you have left, is going to die unless you do something horrible. To know that no matter what you choose, someone you care about gets hurt. You could have told Daniel, asked for help. I did. 2 weeks ago, I told him everything. You know what he said? He said he'd handle it, that he'd pay off the debt, get Marcus back, make it all go away." Sophia's laugh was bitter. "He lied. He had his people look into it, decided it was too risky, and told me to figure it out myself. So I did." Emily's head was spinning. "I don't believe you." "I don't care if you believe me. I'm not here for your approval. I'm here because you need to know that Daniel Park isn't a victim. He's a manipulator, and whatever he told you about me is only half the story. He didn't tell me anything. I saw you inject poison into his IV. That's not a story. That's a fact. And did he tell you why he refused to help my brother? Did he tell you that he's known about Marcus for weeks and did nothing? Did he tell you that he's using this whole situation to destroy me publicly so he can walk away from the engagement without looking bad?" Emily stood. "You're delusional." "Am I? Or are you just too naive to see that you're being used?" "I'm leaving." "Wait." Sophia grabbed her arm. Emily jerked away. Don't touch me. Please, just listen. I know how this looks. I know what I did. But I'm not the monster you think I am. And Daniel isn't the hero. Emily's phone buzzed. Text from Daniel. Where are you? We need to talk. Sophia saw the screen. That's him, isn't it? Emily didn't answer. Ask him about Marcus, Sophia said. Ask him why he refused to help. See what he says. Emily walked away without looking back. By the time she reached her car, her hands were shaking so badly she could barely get the key in the ignition. She sat there, gripping the steering wheel, trying to make sense of what just happened. Sophia was lying. She had to be. The whole story was insane. Blackmail, gambling debts, a brother held hostage. It sounded like something out of a bad thriller. Except Sophia had looked genuinely terrified, and Emily had seen enough liars in her life to recognize the difference between performance and panic. She pulled out her phone and called Daniel. He answered immediately. Where are you? Leaving Riverside Park. What were you doing there? Sophia wanted to meet. Silence. Then, you met with her? She texted me, said she wanted to explain. And you actually went? Daniel's voice was sharp. Emily, that was incredibly stupid. Yeah, I'm getting that a lot lately. What did she say? That she's being blackmailed. That someone's holding her brother and threatening to kill him unless she kills you. That you refuse to help. More silence. Daniel? It's complicated. Emily's chest tightened. What does that mean? It means Sophia's version of events is missing some critical details. Such as the fact that her brother isn't being held by some nameless criminal organization. He's in debt to a loan shark named Victor Chen, small-time operator, nasty but not untouchable. I offered to pay off the debt, $50,000. Sophia said it wasn't enough, that they wanted more. When I asked how much more, she couldn't give me a number. Just kept saying it was complicated. So you did nothing. I did what I could. I had my people reach out to Chen, offered to settle the debt quietly. He refused, said Marcus owed him not just money, but favors, that paying off the cash wouldn't fix the problem. What kind of favors? The kind that involve moving product and keeping your mouth shut. Emily felt cold. Marcus is working for him? Was working for him, until he screwed up a delivery and lost $200,000 worth of merchandise. That's when Chen grabbed him. And Sophia? Sophia panicked, came to me for help. I told her I'd handle it through legal channels. She said legal wouldn't work fast enough, that Chen wanted blood or money, and she didn't have either. So she decided to kill you. So she decided to kill me. Emily sat back, trying to process. Why didn't you tell me this before? Because it wasn't relevant. The why doesn't matter. She poisoned me. End of story. It matters to me. Why? Because... Emily stopped. She didn't have a good answer. Because I need to know I'm helping the right person. Daniel's voice softened. You are. Sophia made her choice. She could have walked away. Could have cut ties with Marcus, gone to the authorities, done literally anything other than try to murder me. But she didn't. She chose this. And now she's facing the consequences. What consequences? Is she being arrested? Not yet. The police are building a case, but it's only a matter of time. And Marcus? Not my problem. Emily's jaw tightened. He's going to die. That's not on me. You could save him. I could. But why would I? He's a criminal. Sophia's a criminal. They made their choices. I'm not responsible for fixing their mess. Emily wanted to argue. Wanted to tell him that people made mistakes, that desperation drove people to do terrible things, that maybe, just maybe, there was a way to help Marcus without letting Sophia get away with attempted murder. But she didn't. Because Daniel was right. Sophia had tried to kill him. And no amount of sob story changed that. Where are you now? Emily asked. Safe house, police protection until they arrest Sophia. How long? Few days? Maybe a week? And then? Then I go back to my life. And you go back to yours. Emily hung up. She sat in her car for a long time, staring at nothing, feeling like she'd just walked through a minefield and somehow made it to the other side without exploding. But the ground still felt unstable. Over the next 3 days, Emily tried to focus on work. She picked up extra shifts, buried herself in patient care, avoided thinking about Daniel or Sophia or any of it. It didn't work. The news broke on day 4. Sophia Lynn, former model and socialite, arrested on charges of attempted murder. The story was everywhere. News sites, social media, tabloids. Emily watched the coverage from her apartment, a glass of cheap wine in hand, feeling numb. Sophia's mugshot looked nothing like the woman Emily had met in the park. This version was cold, defiant. The kind of face that launched 1,000 think pieces about privilege and accountability. Emily's phone buzzed. Text from Daniel. "It's over. Thank you for everything." Emily didn't respond. 2 days later, her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. "Hello? Emily Carter?" A man's voice. Unfamiliar. "Who's this?" "My name is Robert Delgado. I'm an attorney representing Sophia Lynn." Emily's stomach dropped. "I'm not interested. Please, just hear me out. 5 minutes." "Why would I do that?" "Because my client claims you have information that could help her case, and because I think you deserve to know the full story before you make any decisions." "I already know the full story." "Do you? Did Daniel Park tell you about the pregnancy?" Emily froze. "What?" "Sophia's 12 weeks pregnant. The baby is Daniel's." The room tilted. Emily sat down hard on the couch. "That's impossible. He would have told me." "Would he? Are you sure about that?" Emily's mind raced. "Even if it's true, it doesn't change anything. She still tried to kill him. She tried to save her brother. There's a difference." "Not legally." "Maybe not. But morally? Ethically? I think there's a conversation worth having." "I'm hanging up." "Wait, just meet with me. One conversation. If you still think Sophia's a monster after that, I'll never contact you again." Emily should have said no, should have blocked the number and moved on with her life. Instead, she said, "Where?" They met at a coffee shop in a part of the city Emily rarely visited. Delgado was mid-50s, gray hair, tired eyes, wearing a suit that had seen better days. He ordered coffee. Emily ordered nothing. "Thank you for coming," Delgado said. "I'm not promising anything." "I understand." He pulled out a folder. "I'm going to show you some things. Documents, evidence, and then you can decide what to do with the information." He slid the first document across the table. Medical records, confirming pregnancy, 12 weeks. Father listed as Daniel Park. "He knows?" Emily asked. "He knows. Sophia told him 2 weeks before she started poisoning him. And he told her to get an abortion, said a baby didn't fit into his plans. When she refused, he threatened to end the engagement and cut her off financially." Emily felt sick. "That doesn't justify murder." "No, but it provides context." Delgado slid over another document. Bank statements, showing regular payments from Sophia's account to an overseas number. Thousands of dollars, every week for 2 months. "Ransom payments," Delgado said. "For her brother. Victor Chen's been bleeding her dry. She's broke, completely tapped out. And when she asked Daniel for help, he refused. He said he offered to pay off the debt. He offered $50,000 once. Chen wanted $300. Daniel said it wasn't worth it. So Sophia decided killing him was the solution? Sophia was desperate, and desperate people make terrible choices." Emily stared at the documents. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because I need a character witness. Someone who can testify that Sophia isn't a cold-blooded killer, that she's a woman who was backed into a corner and made a horrible decision trying to save someone she loves. I barely know her, but you know Daniel, and you've seen how he operates. You've seen the kind of man he is." Emily looked up. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means Daniel Park is very good at playing the victim, very good at making people believe he's the wrong party. But he's not innocent in this. He manipulated Sophia, used her, and when she became inconvenient, he set her up to take the fall." "Set her up?" "She poisoned him. After he refused to help her brother, after he threatened to abandon her and their child, after he made it clear that she was disposable." Emily pushed the documents back across the table. "I can't help you." "Why not?" "Because even if everything you're saying is true, it doesn't change the facts. Sophia tried to kill him. That's not self-defense. That's not justified. That's attempted murder." Delgado leaned back. "You're right. Legally, she's guilty. But morally? I think there's more to this story than you're willing to admit. I'm not a judge. I'm a nurse. You're a person who helped expose the truth, and now I'm asking you to help expose the rest of it. Emily stood. I'm done. Think about it, please. That's all I'm asking. Emily left without answering. That night, she couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every conversation, every interaction, every moment since this whole mess started. Daniel had seemed like the victim, the wronged party, the man fighting for his life against a murderous fiancée. But what if he wasn't? What if Sophia was telling the truth? What if Daniel had manipulated the situation, refused to help Marcus, pushed Sophia into a corner until she felt like murder was her only option? It didn't excuse what Sophia did, but it complicated the narrative. Emily pulled out her phone and scrolled through Daniel's texts, all of them polite, grateful, but distant, like she was a useful tool he'd employed for a specific purpose. She thought about the way he'd shut her out after getting the toxicology report, the way he'd taken control of the situation without asking her opinion, the way he'd dismissed Sophia's story without hesitation. And she thought about Sophia, terrified, desperate, pregnant. Emily didn't know what to believe anymore. Her phone buzzed. Text from Daniel. Can we meet? I want to thank you properly. Emily stared at the message for a long time. Then she typed back. We need to talk. About Sophia. And Marcus. And everything you didn't tell me. The response came immediately. Tomorrow. My place. I'll explain everything. Emily put the phone down and closed her eyes. She had a feeling tomorrow was going to change everything. Daniel's penthouse occupied the top 2 floors of a glass tower that overlooked the city like a monument to excess. Emily had never been here before. She'd only known him as a patient in a hospital bed, pale and vulnerable. This version of Daniel Park, the one who owned panoramic views and furniture that probably cost more than her car, felt like a stranger. The doorman had her name on a list. The elevator required a keycard. By the time Emily reached the 42nd floor, her nerves were screaming at her to turn around. The doors opened directly into the apartment. No hallway, no buffer, just immediate, overwhelming wealth. Daniel was waiting. He looked better than he had in weeks, color in his face, steady on his feet. He wore jeans and a button-down shirt, casual in the way only rich people could pull off. You came, he said. You said you'd explain. I will. Come in. Emily stepped inside. The space was enormous. Floor-to-ceiling windows, minimalist furniture, art on the walls that she suspected was original and obscenely expensive. Want something to drink? Daniel asked. No, I want answers. He nodded, gestured toward the couch. Sit. Emily sat. Daniel took the chair across from her, maintaining distance. Smart. She was angry enough that proximity felt dangerous. Ask, he said. Is Sophia pregnant? Yes. Is it yours? Yes. Did you tell her to get an abortion? Daniel's jaw tightened. I suggested it was an option. That's not what I asked. Fine. Yes. I told her an abortion would be the smartest choice for both of us. Why? Because I don't want children. I never have. Sophia knew that from the beginning. We had an agreement, no kids, no complications, just a mutually beneficial partnership. Emily's hands clenched. A partnership. That's what it was. Sophia got financial security and social access. I got someone presentable for public events. It worked. Until she got pregnant. Until she decided to keep it, despite our agreement. Agreements change when there's a baby involved. Not for me. Daniel's voice was flat. I was clear from day one. No children. She chose to ignore that. Emily stared at him. You're talking about a human life like it's a business liability. Because that's what it is. I didn't ask for this. I didn't want it. And I'm not going to pretend otherwise just because Sophia decided to unilaterally change the terms. She's 12 weeks along. You can't just walk away. I can. And I will. The baby's not my responsibility if I made my position clear before it existed. Emily felt sick. What about Marcus? What about him? Sophia said you refused to help, that you could have paid off his debt but chose not to. Daniel leaned back. I offered $50,000. That's more than generous for someone I barely know. Victor Chen wanted 300. Victor Chen is a criminal. I'm not funding criminal enterprises. You're also not saving an innocent person from being killed. Marcus isn't innocent. He's a drug runner who screwed up a delivery and cost Chen $200,000. Why should I bail him out? Because he's Sophia's brother. Because she was desperate. Because you had the resources to help and you chose not to. I chose not to enable criminal behavior. There's a difference. Emily stood. You set her up. Daniel frowned. Excuse me? You backed her into a corner, told her to abort the baby, refused to help her brother, made it clear she was disposable, and then when she snapped and did something desperate, you used it to destroy her. I didn't make her poison me, Emily. That was her choice. A choice you engineered. That's ridiculous. Is it? Because from where I'm standing, you manipulated this entire situation. You knew she was desperate. You knew she'd do anything to save Marcus. And instead of helping, you dangled just enough hope to keep her hooked, then pulled it away. Daniel's expression hardened. You think I wanted to be poisoned? You think I engineered a scenario where I almost died? I think you're smart enough to anticipate how desperate people react, and I think you use that to your advantage. This is insane. Then prove me wrong. Help Marcus. Pay off the debt. Show me you're not the manipulative bastard Sophia says you are. Daniel stood, crossing his arms. I'm not paying $300,000 to a loan shark for a drug runner I don't care about. Then you admit it. You could help, but you won't. Helping would be enabling. Marcus made his choices. He deals with the consequences. And Sophia? Sophia tried to kill me. She's going to prison. End of story. Emily grabbed her bag. I'm done. Done with what? With you. With this. I helped you because I thought you were a victim. Turns out you're just another rich guy who thinks people are disposable. Emily. No. You know what? Sophia was right. You're not a victim. You're a manipulator, and I was stupid enough to fall for it. She headed for the elevator. Daniel followed. Wait, just listen. I'm done listening. You don't understand the full picture. Emily whirled around. Then explain it. Right now. No more games, no more half-truths. Tell me the whole story, or I walk. Daniel hesitated. For the first time since she'd met him, he looked uncertain. There's something I didn't tell you, he said finally. Shocking. Sophia's not the only one being blackmailed. Emily froze. What? Daniel ran a hand through his hair. Victor Chen didn't just grab Marcus. He grabbed someone else too. Someone I care about. Who? My sister, May. She's 26, works in finance. No criminal record. No connection to any of this. Chen took her 3 weeks ago. Emily felt the floor shift. Why didn't you tell me? Because it complicates everything. Because if the police find out Chen's holding May, they'll raid his operation. And if they raid his operation, May dies. Chen's made that very clear. So you've been negotiating. Trying to, but Chen doesn't want money. He wants leverage. He wants me to do something for him, something illegal. And if I refuse, May dies. Emily sat back down, her legs suddenly unreliable. What does he want? Access to my company's financial systems. He's running a money laundering operation. Needs a clean pipeline. My company's perfect for it. And you said no? Of course I said no. I'm not committing federal crimes for a loan shark. Even if it means saving your sister? Daniel's face was stone. I'm trying to find another way. But yes, even if it means May dies, I'm not breaking the law. Emily stared at him. You'd let your own sister die rather than compromise your principles? I'd let her die rather than destroy everything I've built. Everything my family built. May would understand that. Would she? Or is that just what you're telling yourself so you can sleep at night? Daniel's eyes flashed. You don't get to judge me. You don't know what it's like to have everything you've worked for held hostage by a criminal. No, but I know what it's like to have to make impossible choices. And I know that people matter more than principles. Easy to say when it's not your life on the line. It was my life on the line. My career, my future. I risked all of it to help you. And you're telling me you won't risk your company to save your sister? It's not the same. It's exactly the same. They stood there, locked in silence, the weight of everything unsaid pressing down like a physical force. Sophia doesn't know about May, Daniel said finally. She thinks I refused to help Marcus out of spite. But the truth is I can't help Marcus because every dollar I have is going toward trying to save May. How? Private security, investigators, people who can find Chen's operation and extract May without triggering a bloodbath. And has it worked? Not yet, but we're close. Emily processed this. Does Sophia's lawyer know? No, and I can't tell him. If it gets out that Chen's holding May, the whole thing collapses. Chen kills her and disappears. I lose my sister and gain nothing. So you're letting Sophia take the fall. Sophia tried to kill me. That's not me setting her up. That's consequences. Consequences you could have prevented if you just told her the truth. Telling her the truth puts May at risk. I'm not doing that. Emily stood again, pacing. Her mind was a mess of conflicting emotions. Anger at Daniel for manipulating the situation. Sympathy for May, trapped because of her brother's choices. Confusion about where the line between victim and villain actually fell. What do you want from me? She asked finally. I want you to understand, I'm not the monster you think I am. I'm just someone trying to save the people I love while keeping my life from completely falling apart. By sacrificing Sophia. Sophia made her choice. I didn't force her to poison me. You gave her no other options. There are always other options. She chose the worst one. Emily turned to face him. What happens to Marcus now? I don't know. That's not my problem. And the baby? Also not my problem. You're really going to abandon your own child? I never wanted it. I was clear about that. Sophia knew the terms. She decided to break them. Now she deals with the outcome. Emily felt a wave of disgust so strong it nearly choked her. You're a coward. Daniel's expression didn't change. Maybe, but I'm a living coward, and that counts for something. Emily left. This time, Daniel didn't follow. The elevator ride down felt like descending from one version of reality into another. By the time Emily reached the street, she felt hollowed out, exhausted, like she'd just run a marathon through broken glass. She sat in her car for 20 minutes, staring at nothing, trying to figure out what the hell to do next. Sophia was guilty. That much was clear. She'd poisoned Daniel. Attempted murder. No amount of context changed that, but Daniel wasn't innocent either. He'd manipulated the situation. Withheld information. Let Sophia believe he'd refused to help out of cruelty when the reality was more complicated. And May, trapped, innocent, waiting for a brother who valued his company more than her life. Emily pulled out her phone and called Robert Delgado. He answered on the second ring. Miss Carter, I wasn't expecting to hear from you. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. All right. If I testify that Daniel manipulated Sophia, that he backed her into a corner and gave her no options, does that help her case? Silence. Then, it might. It establishes motive, desperation. It doesn't excuse what she did, but it could reduce the charges. Maybe get her a plea deal. What kind of plea deal? Depends on the prosecutor. Best case? Aggravated assault instead of attempted murder. She'd still do time, but less of it. And Marcus? Marcus is a separate issue. Unless we can prove he was being held against his will, he's facing charges too. Emily closed her eyes. What if I told you there's another person being held, someone Daniel cares about, and that's why he couldn't help Marcus? Who? His sister, May Park. Victor Chen's holding her, trying to blackmail Daniel into laundering money. Delgado was quiet for a long moment. Can you prove that? No, Daniel told me in confidence. I don't have evidence. Then it doesn't help. Not legally, but if we could verify it, it changes everything. It means Sophia wasn't just acting out of desperation for Marcus. She was acting in a situation where Daniel had competing interests, where he couldn't help even if he wanted to. Would that matter in court? It might. It establishes that Sophia was operating on incomplete information, that she believed Daniel refused to help out of malice when the truth was more complicated. Emily leaned her head against the steering wheel. I don't know if I can testify. It could destroy my career. It could also save a woman's life and her child's. The baby's Daniel's. He doesn't want it. Doesn't matter. If Sophia goes to prison for 20 years, that child grows up without a mother. You have the power to change that. Emily hung up. She sat there for another 10 minutes, then made a decision she knew she'd probably regret. She called Detective Hall. Detective Hall. It's Emily Carter. We need to talk about the Park case. I'm listening. I have information about Victor Chen, about another victim, someone other than Marcus Lin. Hall's tone sharpened. Go on. Daniel Park's sister, May Park. Chen's holding her too, trying to blackmail Daniel into laundering money through his company. How do you know this? Daniel told me. Today, at his apartment. Did he provide evidence? No, just his word. Hall sighed. Then it's hearsay. Same problem as before. But if you investigate, if you can verify that May's being held, it changes the case against Sophia. It proves Daniel had reasons beyond spite for not helping Marcus. Maybe, but it doesn't change the fact that Sophia poisoned him. It establishes context, motive. It shows she was acting on incomplete information. Miss Carter, I appreciate the call, but unless you have hard evidence, there's nothing I can do. Then get the evidence. Raid Chen's operation. Find May. Prove Daniel was telling the truth. And if Daniel's lying? If he made up the story about May to manipulate you? Emily froze. She hadn't considered that. Why would he do that, she asked, to make himself look sympathetic, to justify his refusal to help Marcus, to keep you on his side. You think he's lying? I think rich people lie when it's convenient, and I think you should be very careful about whose version of the truth you believe. Hall hung up. Emily sat there, the weight of doubt crushing her chest. What if Daniel was lying? What if there was no May? What if he'd invented the whole story to justify his cruelty toward Sophia and Marcus? She pulled out her phone and did something she should have done hours ago. She Googled May Park. The results were immediate. LinkedIn profile. Financial analyst at a major investment firm. Stanford graduate. 26 years old. Photos of her at company events, conferences, charity functions. She existed. That was something. But did Victor Chen actually have her? Emily scrolled through May's social media. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. The last post was from 3 weeks ago. A photo of May at a coffee shop, smiling, caption reading, "Needed this today." 3 weeks. Right when Daniel said she was taken. But 3 weeks without social media didn't prove kidnapping. It proved absence. Nothing more. Emily needed confirmation. Real confirmation. And she knew exactly where to get it. She drove to Victor Chen's last known address. The information had been in Sophia's bank records, the ones Delgado had shown her. Payments sent to an account linked to an address in the warehouse district. It was a terrible idea. Possibly the worst idea Emily had ever had. But she was past the point of making good decisions. The warehouse was exactly what she expected. Graffiti-covered walls, broken windows, the kind of place where bad things happened and nobody asked questions. Emily parked a block away and approached on foot. Her heart was hammering. Her hands were sweating. Every instinct she had was screaming at her to turn around. She didn't. The building had a side entrance, unlocked. Emily slipped inside, moving quietly through a hallway that smelled like mildew and regret. Voices up ahead. Male. Speaking in a language Emily didn't recognize. Mandarin, maybe. She crept closer, staying low, keeping to the shadows. Through a doorway, she saw them. 3 men. One of them holding a phone, speaking rapidly. The others leaning against a table covered in cash and what looked like bagged pills. And in the corner, tied to a chair, was a woman. May Park. Emily's breath caught. She was here. She was real. Daniel had been telling the truth. May looked exhausted, bruised, but alive. Emily pulled out her phone, took a photo, and backed away as quietly as she'd come. She made it to her car, locked the doors, and called Hall. "Detective, it's Emily Carter. I have proof. May Park is alive. She's being held at a warehouse on 5th and Industrial. I saw her. 3 men, armed. You need to send a team now. Ms. Carter, did you just admit to trespassing on private property?" "I admitted to saving a woman's life. Are you going to help or not?" Hall was silent for a moment. Then, "Stay where you are. Don't go back inside. We're on our way." Emily waited. 15 minutes felt like hours. Then the sirens came, patrol cars, SWAT, the whole operation descending on the warehouse like a hammer. Emily watched from a distance as they brought the men out in handcuffs. Watched as they carried May out on a stretcher, alive, conscious, crying. She waited until the chaos died down, then approached Hall. He saw her coming and shook his head. "You're lucky you didn't get yourself killed." "Is she okay?" "Dehydrated, bruised, but alive. Thanks to you." He paused. "Also, you're not supposed to be here. Officially, I never saw you." "Understood." "And Miss Carter? This doesn't change the case against Sophia Lynn. She still tried to kill Daniel Park." "I know, but it proves she was operating on incomplete information. That changes the context." Hall looked at her for a long moment. "Maybe. We'll see." Emily drove home in a daze. She'd done it. She'd found May. Proven Daniel wasn't entirely lying, but it didn't solve the bigger problem. Sophia was still facing attempted murder charges. Marcus was still in danger, and Emily was still caught in the middle of a mess she didn't know how to fix. Her phone buzzed. Text from Daniel. "I heard about May. Thank you. I owe you everything." Emily stared at the message. Then she typed back, "You owe me the truth, all of it. No more games. Meet me tomorrow. Same place." The response came immediately. "Okay. Tomorrow. I'll tell you everything." Emily put the phone down and closed her eyes. Tomorrow. One more conversation. One more chance to figure out who the real villain was. And then maybe, just maybe, she could finally walk away from this nightmare. Emily didn't sleep that night. She lay in bed watching shadows move across her ceiling, her mind replaying everything that had happened over the past month. Somewhere in this city, May Park was recovering in a hospital. Sophia Lynn was sitting in a jail cell. Marcus Lynn was probably still terrified, waiting to see if his sister's gamble would save him or destroy them both. And Daniel Park was in his glass tower, orchestrating outcomes like pieces on a chessboard. Emily had started this thinking she was saving a victim. Now she wasn't sure there were any victims at all, just people making terrible choices and dragging everyone around them into the wreckage. At 6 a.m, she gave up on sleep and made coffee. Her phone buzzed with a news alert. Victor Chen and 2 associates had been formally charged with kidnapping, extortion, and drug trafficking. May Park was in stable condition. The article mentioned nothing about Sophia or Marcus or the attempted murder case, but Emily knew it was only a matter of time before the media connected the dots. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. "Emily Carter?" A woman's voice. Young, shaky. "Who is this?" "It's May Park." Emily's coffee cup froze halfway to her mouth. "How did you get my number?" "Daniel gave it to me. I wanted to thank you for finding me. The police said you're the one who called it in." I just did what anyone would do." "No, you risked your life. You didn't have to do that." May's voice cracked. "I thought I was going to die in that warehouse." Emily's throat tightened. "Are you okay? Really okay?" "Physically, yeah. Emotionally?" May laughed, but it sounded broken. "I don't know. Everything's a mess. But I'm alive. That's something." "It's everything." "Daniel told me about Sophia, about what she tried to do." May paused. "He also told me you're the reason he survived. That you figured it out when no one else did." Emily didn't know what to say to that. "I need to ask you something," May continued, "and I need you to be honest." "Okay. Do you think my brother's a good person?" The question hit Emily like a slap. She set her coffee down. "Why are you asking me?" "Because everyone else will lie. They'll tell me what they think I want to hear, but you don't owe me anything. You'll tell me the truth." Emily closed her eyes. "I think your brother is complicated. I think he makes choices that prioritize his interests over other people's well-being. But I also think he genuinely cared about saving you. He just didn't know how to do it without sacrificing everything else." That's a diplomatic way of saying he's selfish. Maybe. Or maybe he's just human. We all protect what matters most to us. For Daniel, that's his company, his legacy, the things he's built. You were important, but not more important than those things. May was quiet for a long moment. "He told me he couldn't pay the ransom because it would have bankrupted the company. That Chen wanted access to our financial systems and Daniel refused because it would destroy everything our family built. Is that true? Partially. The company would have survived paying $300,000. It wouldn't have been comfortable, but it wouldn't have bankrupted us. Daniel chose not to pay because he didn't think I was worth the risk. Emily's chest tightened. May, it's okay. I've known for a long time that Daniel values the business more than people. I just didn't think it applied to me. May's voice was steady now, resigned. But it does, and I have to live with that. I'm sorry. Don't be. You saved me when he couldn't. That means something. After they hung up, Emily sat in her kitchen staring at nothing. The coffee went cold. The sun came up. And Emily realized she'd made a decision without consciously deciding. She was going to testify for Sophia. Not because Sophia was innocent. She wasn't. But because the truth was more complicated than attempted murder, and someone needed to say it out loud. Emily called Robert Delgado. Ms. Carter, I wasn't expecting to hear from you. I'll testify, but I have conditions. I'm listening. I testify about what I saw, about Daniel's refusal to help Marcus, about the pregnancy, about the context that led to Sophia's desperation. But I don't lie. I don't exaggerate. I tell the truth exactly as I know it. That's all I'm asking for. And I want something in return. What? I want you to help Marcus. Get him immunity. He's a victim in this too. Chen exploited him, used him. He deserves a chance to start over. Delgado was quiet. I can try, but I can't promise anything. Try hard. Understood. When can you come in to give a statement? Today. Now. Let's get this over with. The prosecutor's office was everything Emily expected. Fluorescent lights, institutional beige, people in cheap suits looking perpetually exhausted. Emily gave her statement to an assistant district attorney named Karen Webb, mid-30s. Sharp eyes. The kind of person who'd heard every story and believed none of them. Emily told her everything, the poisoning, the investigation, Daniel's refusal to help Marcus, the pregnancy, May's kidnapping, the warehouse. She didn't editorialize, didn't try to make Sophia look sympathetic, just laid out the facts and let Webb draw her own conclusions. When she finished, Webb leaned back. This doesn't change the charges. You understand that, right? Sophia Lynn still attempted to murder Daniel Park. I understand, but it establishes motive, context. It shows she wasn't a cold-blooded killer. She was desperate. Desperate people call the police. They don't commit murder. Desperate people with no options do desperate things. Webb studied her. You care about her. Why? I don't know her well enough to care about her, but I care about the truth. And the truth is that this situation is more complicated than the charges suggest. The law doesn't care about complicated. It cares about actions. Sophia poisoned Daniel. That's attempted murder. Everything else is just noise. Emily stood. Then I guess we'll see what a jury thinks. She left before Webb could respond. That afternoon, Emily met Daniel at his penthouse. She'd told him she needed one final conversation, a chance to hear his side without interruptions or manipulation. He was waiting on the terrace. The view was stunning. The city spread out below them like a toy model, clean and organized from this height. Nothing like the messy reality at street level. You look tired, Daniel said. I am. Coffee? No. I just want to talk. Daniel gestured to the chairs. They sat. May called me, Emily said. I know, she told me. She thinks you didn't pay the ransom because you valued your company more than her life. Daniel's expression didn't change. She's not wrong. That doesn't bother you. Of course it bothers me. But it doesn't change the reality. I had to make a choice, save May or save the company. I couldn't do both. You could have. You just didn't want to. You're right. I didn't want to. Because the company represents decades of work, thousands of jobs, a legacy that matters. May is one person. And yes, she's my sister, and I love her. But love doesn't override logic. Emily stared at him. You really believe that? I have to. Otherwise, I'd lose my mind second-guessing every decision I've ever made. Does that include Sophia? Daniel's jaw tightened. Sophia made her choice. She could have left, could have gone to the police. Could have done literally anything other than try to kill me. She was scared, desperate, pregnant with your child and abandoned by the one person who could have helped her. I didn't abandon her. I gave her options. She chose the worst one. You told her to abort your baby and then refused to help save her brother. Those aren't options. That's cruelty. Daniel stood, walking to the edge of the terrace. You don't understand what it's like to have everyone wanting something from you, to be surrounded by people who see you as a solution to their problems instead of a person. Sophia wanted money. Marcus wanted rescue. May wanted protection. Everyone wanted something, and I'm supposed to give it all while sacrificing everything I've built? You're supposed to be human, to care about people more than profit. That's naive. Maybe. But it's also decent. Daniel turned to face her. I'm not the villain here, Emily. I'm just someone trying to survive in a world where everyone wants a piece of me. And Sophia's the villain? The desperate woman who tried to save her brother the only way she thought she could? Yes, because she tried to kill me. That's not desperation. That's murder. Emily stood. I'm testifying for her defense. Daniel's expression shifted. Not anger, something colder. Why? Because the truth matters. And the truth is that you backed her into a corner and then acted surprised when she lashed out. I didn't make her poison me. No, but you created the conditions that made it feel like her only option. That's not how the law works. Maybe not, but it's how morality works. Daniel stepped closer. If you testify against me, you'll destroy any credibility you have. The hospital will fire you. You'll never work as a nurse again. Probably, but I'll be able to live with myself. Will you? Or will you spend the rest of your life wondering if you threw away your career for a woman who tried to commit murder? Emily met his eyes. I'd rather wonder that than wonder if I let an innocent woman go to prison because I was too scared to tell the truth. She left. This time she knew she wouldn't be back. The trial took 4 months to start. Emily spent that time in a strange limbo. She'd been placed on administrative leave from Meridian pending an internal investigation into her conduct. Translation: fired, but slowly. She picked up shifts at a county hospital. The pay was terrible. The hours were worse. But it kept her busy, kept her from thinking too much about what she'd sacrificed. Sophia's case became a media sensation. The beautiful socialite who'd tried to kill her tech billionaire fiancé. Every news outlet covered it. Every talking head had an opinion. Emily watched from a distance, feeling like a spectator in her own life. When the trial finally began, Emily was called as a witness for the defense. She wore her only good suit and tried not to throw up in the courthouse bathroom. The courtroom was packed. Emily took the stand and swore to tell the truth. Then Robert Delgado began his questions. He walked her through everything: her discovery of the poisoning, her investigation, Daniel's refusal to help Marcus, the pregnancy, May's kidnapping, the warehouse rescue. Emily answered honestly. She didn't try to make Sophia look innocent, didn't try to make Daniel look evil, just told the story exactly as it had happened. When Delgado finished, the prosecutor stood for cross-examination. Karen Webb approached the stand with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Ms. Carter, you testified that Sophia Lynn was desperate, correct? Yes. And that desperation led her to poison Daniel Park. Yes? But desperation doesn't justify murder, does it? No. And Sophia had other options. She could have gone to the police, filed a report about her brother's kidnapping, sought legal help. She could have, but she didn't believe those options would work fast enough. That's speculation. You don't know what Sophia believed. She told me herself, in the park. She said she felt trapped. Feeling trapped and being trapped are different things, correct? I suppose. And Sophia chose to commit a crime rather than pursue legal avenues. Yes. So her desperation, while understandable, doesn't excuse her actions. Emily hesitated. No, it doesn't excuse them, but it explains them. Webb smiled. Explanation isn't exoneration. No further questions. Emily stepped down, feeling like she'd failed. She'd told the truth, but the truth hadn't been enough. The trial continued for 2 more weeks. Witnesses, evidence, arguments. Emily watched when she could, but mostly she tried to move on with her life. The verdict came on a Thursday. Guilty of aggravated assault, not guilty of attempted murder. Sophia was sentenced to 6 years, eligible for parole in 3. Emily didn't know if that was justice or compromise. Maybe both. After the sentencing, Robert Delgado found Emily outside the courthouse. "We got Marcus immunity," he said. "He's testifying against Chen's organization. Full cooperation. When it's over, he'll be placed in witness protection." Emily felt a weight lift. "And the baby?" "Sophia's mother is taking custody. The baby will be born while Sophia's incarcerated, but at least there's family." "And Daniel?" "Daniel's moving on. He released a statement saying he forgives Sophia and hopes she gets the help she needs. Very magnanimous." Emily almost laughed. "Of course he did." Delgado studied her. "You did the right thing, testifying. It probably saved her from a murder conviction." "It also destroyed my career." "Maybe, but you can rebuild. Sophia can't get that time back." He was right. Emily knew he was right, but it didn't make the loss hurt any less. 6 months after the trial, Emily received an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a check for $200,000 and a note. "For a new beginning. You earned it. DP." Emily stared at the check for a long time. Part of her wanted to rip it up, to send it back with a note telling Daniel exactly where he could shove his guilt money. But the practical part of her, the part that was drowning in student debt and unemployment, knew she couldn't afford pride. She deposited the check, used half to pay off her loans, used the other half as seed money for something she'd been thinking about for months. A year later, Emily opened a community health clinic in the part of the city where people couldn't afford private care. No fancy equipment, no wealthy patients, just her, 2 other nurses, and a rotating group of volunteer doctors. She called it Second Chances. The name felt appropriate. Daniel never contacted her again. She saw him occasionally in the news, new business ventures, new public appearances. He'd moved on completely, like their entire interaction had been a brief inconvenience. May reached out once. They met for coffee. May had left Daniel's company and started her own consulting firm. She looked healthier, happier, more herself. "I cut ties with him," May said. "Daniel, completely. I realized I couldn't keep waiting for him to value me the way I needed to be valued." "How did he take it?" "About how you'd expect. He said I was being emotional, that I'd regret it, that family was supposed to stick together." May smiled sadly. "I told him family was supposed to care about each other, and he clearly didn't care about me, so we weren't really family anymore. I'm sorry." "Don't be. It was freeing. I finally stopped waiting for him to change and started building a life that didn't revolve around his approval." Emily understood that feeling. Sophia was released after 4 years. Emily heard about it through Delgado. They never met again. Emily thought about reaching out, but decided against it. Some stories didn't need epilogues. On the 5-year anniversary of the night she'd first warned Daniel about the poison, Emily sat in her clinic after hours and thought about everything that had happened. She'd lost her job at Meridian, lost the career path she'd planned, lost the stability she'd fought so hard to build, but she'd gained something too. A clarity about what mattered. A backbone she didn't know she had. A willingness to do the right thing even when it cost her everything. The clinic wasn't fancy. It wasn't prestigious. But it mattered. Every day she helped people who had nowhere else to go. People who'd been ignored by a system that valued profit over care. People like Sophia. Like Marcus. Like the version of herself who'd stood in a hospital room 5 years ago and made a choice that changed everything. Emily had learned something through all of this. Something that couldn't be taught in nursing school or found in any textbook. The world wasn't divided into victims and villains. It was full of complicated people making impossible choices with incomplete information. Daniel wasn't evil. Sophia wasn't innocent. May wasn't helpless. Marcus wasn't just a victim. They were all just humans. Flawed, desperate, trying to survive in a world that demanded perfection while offering no clear path to it. And sometimes the right thing wasn't obvious. Sometimes it required sacrifice, risk, a willingness to stand in the gap between what was legal and what was just, and choose justice even when it hurt. Emily still didn't know if she'd made the right choices, but she'd made human ones. And in the end, maybe that was all anyone could do. Her phone buzzed, a patient texting about an appointment. Emily responded, then locked up the clinic and headed home. The city lights blurred past her car windows. Somewhere out there, Daniel was probably in his penthouse, making deals and calculating outcomes. Sophia was trying to rebuild a life with her daughter. May was running her business. Marcus was starting over with a new identity, and Emily was driving home to her tiny apartment, to a life that looked nothing like what she'd planned 5 years ago. But it was hers. Built on choices she could defend, mistakes she could own, scars that reminded her she'd survived. That night, Emily slept better than she had in years, because she'd finally learned the truth that no one tells you when you're young and idealistic and convinced the world makes sense. Sometimes there are no heroes, no villains, no clean endings, just people trying their best, failing, getting up, trying again. And sometimes that's enough.